Welcome to everybody to this week's edition of Valpo Football Preview, along with head coach Dave Cicchini. This is Todd Eichow as we start off by taking a look back. A tough ball game on Saturday against a football team that looks to be as dominant a PFL team as we've seen in years in San Diego. You guys tried a lot of things on Saturday. Mm-hmm. I mean, I guess you went into the game thinking, we're going to run some wildcat, we're going to go for it on fourth down, we're going to run a fake punt, trying anything to stay in the ball game against San Diego. A few things worked, a few things didn't, and it was just a situation where you went against a very, very talented football team.
Yeah, they were as advertised. We knew going in that they were going to be a challenging opponent, and they came out, and we did. We executed our game plan early and got a quick 3-and-out on defense, and the offense moved the ball methodically down the field. But just as the game, it became obvious that we were going to need to do something and take some risks to just the field position battle. You could just see that this was going to be really our one chance to hang in there, and we took some shots, and a couple of them did pay off, but unfortunately too many of them just didn't work for us. And again, give credit to San Diego. They went out and played a heck of a ball game.
Dave, one thing that continues here, and it has happened for almost every conference game, and even going back to the end of the non-conference, is your defense against the run has vastly improved. How has that happened?
Yeah, well, we change a lot of things up defensively. We're very multiple, but most of it's centered around taking away the run game, forcing teams to beat us through the air, and we've had a lot of success doing that this year, and it turns a lot of football teams into more one-dimensional teams, and unfortunately you get games like this past Saturday where San Diego had an awful lot of success through the air, and we struggled covering them in some one-on-one matchups, and their quarterback had a great day throwing for 5 touchdown passes. But it's nice to be able to hang in there and go toe-to-toe with some of these bigger, more experienced offensive lines and at the running back position, and still come away saying, well, at least we were able to shut that facet of their game down.
And I was going to say, you guys have blitzed more and more in the last few weeks. I think probably the last 3 weeks have blitzed more than you were earlier on in the season. And that puts more pressure, obviously, on the secondary if you don't get to the quarterback right away.
Exactly. And we struggled at times doing that. We got a couple of hits on their quarterback, but yeah, it does expose you. Single coverage, you can only cover a man for so long, and when you don't get to the quarterback and get him flustered, or at least get him into that mode where maybe he has happy feet and he knows that he's going to get hit when the ball, as soon as he lets go of the ball, when you allow him to be in his comfort zone, and you get a quarterback as talented as he was, you can get picked apart in the secondary if you don't get to him.
On the offensive side of the ball, you went into the game knowing that you probably would play Jimmy Seawald some. Ryan Clark took a hit at one point in the game. It looked like maybe you just need a spark as well. Mm-hmm. Jimmy came in and played pretty well. And the numbers for Jimmy Seawald were very good.
Yeah. No, he continues to impress every time that he goes into the ball game. I believe right now his pass efficiency rating, he's number 3 in the conference right now, and he's played an awful lot of football for us. If you look at it, over the course of the last really 6 or 7 ball games. And he continues to get better. He continues to impress, and he's been a very accurate thrower, and he does a pretty good job in some of his scrambles. And he's got a good head on his shoulders, and we're going to continue to see what he can do, and he's going to continue to get playing time, and hopefully he'll just continue to improve. And those small freshman-type hiccups and mistakes that he's making, hopefully those will be fewer and fewer as we move on here.
You mentioned after the game that the decision for next Saturday against Butler, which is now just 5 days away as we're taping on Monday, will depend on numerous things, and it might be midweek or late week before you make a decision. So right. I'm guessing right now you're evaluating the quarterback situation.
Yeah, absolutely, and we'll take a look, and we'll look at the health of both players and make sure that because the difference between the two of them is so small right now, and they each have certain things that they're better at than the other quarterback, and we'll take all that into consideration, the game plan and the health of the quarterbacks and how they go out and practice on Tuesday and Wednesday. And as we talk about in the offensive staff room, it's a great problem to have. When you have 2 quarterbacks that you have that you believe are capable of executing our offense and moving the football down the field, that it's a lot better, having two quarterbacks that you're very confident in as opposed to zero. It's a good problem to have.
The Butler-Valpo rivalry is great for so many reasons. Obviously, the schools are very close. They've gone through so many conference changes together
Right.
over the years. Valpo and Butler have played each other more than any other combination of any school, I think, in the state of Indiana, outside of Indiana, Purdue, and maybe some of the smaller schools down south. And for years, I go back maybe to the 80s, early 90s, Butler dominated. There was a stretch where Valpo dominated as well, late 90s, early 2000. Obviously, Butler's had the upper hand for the most part of late, but you came in and said the Butler game is important. It may be more important than other games. And you went out and you pulled a big upset 2 years ago against Butler. Let's talk maybe a little bit about what makes it so special, and in your mind, is it more important than some of the other conference games?
Well, you always stress that all games are important in conference. But that being said, when you have a rivalry game, a game that has the tradition that this rivalry has and the history and playing for the Hoosier helmet, it just adds. It's just as important as all the other games. But it just, kids have a bounce in their step, the level of energy, the level of focus. It just it gets amped up, and it doesn't take nearly as much motivation as a head coach to get guys going in practice, and then to remind them that hey, what is at stake here? It's the kids are self motivated and they're going, and so it's an intense week of practice, an intense week of preparation, and the atmosphere on Saturday should be tremendous.
And the matchup is fairly even. You look at the scores,
Right.
at least. It
Sure.
looks like it's a pretty even matchup.
Yeah, I would say more so than any other contest we've had this year. I think this are two very even football teams from a talent standpoint, from a record standpoint. You look at, we've only had two common opponents, but the score differential and both both teams beat Davidson, both teams lost to San Diego, and the margins were almost identical. And so I think you've got two football teams that are very, very evenly matched up, and it should be a great football game.
All right, good luck on Saturday, Dave.
Thanks, Todd.
For head coach Dave Cicchini, this is Todd Eichow. Thanks for joining us this week on Valpo Football Preview.